Hey, what's going on, guys? So, we're going to try to make this as concise as possible. I have a lot of stuff here. I have a lot of stuff I want to go over. Uh, I also don't want to make this like a long, drawn out video. So, if there's anything I don't cover in here, leave a comment down below and ask. I answer every single comment, every single question. I'll also put my email down below in case you don't want to ask in the comments. You can email me directly and we can figure out whatever issues you may be having. I've had two gentlemen specifically, Paul and Rob, ask me to show my process of honing. Okay. Again, this is my process. Many ways of doing it. Many ways to skin a cat, as some say. And again, this is my process. So I'll kind of go over some of my stuff. This isn't all of my stones that I have. I have others, but for the sake of this video, we're trying to be concise. So I'll be honing a gold dollar today. That's this here. And I'll show you that it's dull here shortly. Gold dollars tend to take a lot of work when you first get them. I think I've only had 2 or 3 that did not need serious correction on them. The rest of them, which have been 23, 23 other ones, have needed serious work. I'll go over that in this video briefly. I can make a more in-depth video on that specifically later down the road, but I will go over that briefly for new guys that are trying to get into this, that maybe just want to buy something cheap, like a gold dollar, and go from there. So if you're wanting to start off, and I wish I knew this when I first started, get yourself a nice 1K. This is a very cheap 1K. This is what I purchased. It works for me, but this stone is it's poor quality. It does the job. It'll set the bevel, but it's poor quality. A Chaucera, a Nanawa Chaucera 1K. You can get those at Maggard or even eBay, different places. It's a green stone. The stone is green. Buy that. That is your bevel setter. That's what most of the professional honers use. I'm not going to get one just yet because I'll show you why. But I would have saved quite a bit of money if I would have gone that route. Okay, so you're gonna want a 1K to set your bevels. Okay, you're gonna want a DMT or a diamond plate. Okay, that's something else you're gonna want. The diamond plate is to flatten your other stones. And also, if you have a ton of work that needs to be done on these gold dollars, this will tear it up. Not tear it up. This will be much more efficient than the 1K. You'll go from here to the 1K, and I'll explain that as well. So you're gonna want to go in progressions because the diamond plate. This is a 400 DMT diamond plate. The 400 marks that are left on the razor will be taken out by the 1K marks. 1K marks will be taken out by my 4K Norton. This is my Norton 4K and 8K combo. You can see there. So 1K will be taken out by the 4K, 4K will be taken out by the 8K, 8K will be taken out by my 12K Nanawa. This is my 12K synthetic Nanawa stone. And then that, depending on the variation, you could end with this, but typically I like to go with my naturals, either my Arkansas, my ARC, or my JNats. So that's kind of the progression. We'll run through these real quick. To start off, let me just show you real quick because you never want to, as far as like demonstration, I'm going to hone this to be sharp, but at the moment it's definitely not sharp. One quick test. Arm hair. Absolutely nothing. You hear it scraping. That's the toe, the mid razor, and heel. Not cutting any hair whatsoever. With a very, very sharp edge here. Your thumb pad on there. Moving up and down like this is a huge no-no. You will split your thumb wide open if this was sharp. This is not sharp. Okay. All right. So I've proven that that's not sharp. I will leave this right here. This is another gold dollar. I have tons of these. These are my everyday just workman's, just getting the shave and keeping them honed. This is a sharp one, okay? Let me show you. There goes the hair. All right, now I have a bald spot right there. So that's the difference. We're gonna get this like this. So let's go ahead. All right, so when I first get these gold dollars, and again, this just pertains honestly to gold dollars and cheap razors, you're gonna wanna get a Dremel. You know, you can use anything, but I guess, but I use a Dremel, it's more efficient. I have this little grinding wheel here. And when these come to you, I don't have one that's not already done, or that, you know, that still has the issues. They have this huge stabilizer back here. And when you're putting it on the stone with that huge stabilizer, it causes issues. It lifts up the heel and keeps the toe on the stone. So it's very, you're not going to get a good edge across there. So, you know, you have to kind of trim down that stabilizer, which I've already done. So that's the reason for the Dremel. I'm going to go ahead and put the Dremel to the side. Okay. So this bevel is already set. I've already done this pre-video just to save some time. So you could see my edge right here. You see the light shining on that edge, right? And you also see the light shining on this spot right here across, right below my finger. That's the bevel. You know the bevel is set when you have I mean, you know, you don't have to really see a line, but you want to see a reflection, something straight across in parallel with your edge straight across. Okay? That's how you know the bevel's set. We could do the exact same thing on this side. All right? So right here, you see that line straight across. You see this, again, this isn't sharp, this straight across. Okay? You have to use either your DMT, your diamond plate, or a 1K to basically continually hone this until you get that perfect line across top and bottom, okay? We're not going to get into tape and all that stuff, but if you have a very nice razor where you don't want to have spine wear like you see here, you could easily remedy that by using tape. I'll show you. All you would do, get some, I use electrical tape, or electrician's tape, electrical tape. I just peel off a piece, stick it to the end. I'll let it overhang just a little, about 1/4 of an inch. And then I tape it all the way down, make sure there's no bubbles on either side. And you put tape on there, and then you can hone that way. And that way you're not getting any spine wear, it's called. Again, this is a $2 razor. I don't care about spine wear at all. So, I'm going to go through the process real quick, even though I don't need to on this razor. So, we'll act like, oh, by the way, if you're going to do this, get yourself some rubber mats, or I use this. I have 2 of these. It just kind of keeps everything from sliding around, your stones from sliding around. So, put the 1K on there. I always wet. This is another thing. I have a water bottle here. You don't have to have a water bottle. It's not specific for honing. I mean, you can use anything. You can have a little bottle of water or a mug of water and just kind of dip some on your hands and get the stone wet. That's all we're trying to do here. Let me move this out of the way. I use a water bottle. I think that's pretty centered for you guys. And we're just, whenever you buy a stone, you want to make sure that the stone you're buying, you know what the manufacturer is recommending as far as, do you need to soak the stone? Is it an oil stone? Is it a wet stone with water? You know, what's the deal? Now, this specific stone I'm using, you could see the water literally absorb here as I'm spraying it on. Look, it's absorbing. Typically, I soak this specific 1K. I do. At the moment, it's not soaked because I don't need to set the bevel. I'm just going to go through the motions real quick just to show you. So I would wet this. I would get it completely saturated. You'd have a puddle of water up here. At the moment, it's being soaked in. And then basically, I just hone, right? So I'm here. Now I do X strokes. That is all I do. Some guys do circles, which is this. You could do that. That's circles. You could do hooks. I don't like hooks at all, but you could do hooks. Like I said, I just typically like X stroke patterns. And I do that from my bevel setting to my 4 and 8, all the way up to my 12K, and then all the way up to my my finishing stones. So that's how you set the bevel. Again, if you have a really bad, wipe this on my shirt. If you have a very poor razor, as far as it's needing a lot of geometry correction, use a DMT. That's the reason for the DMTs. A lot of work. This side's extremely flat, and then this side is very coarse. Okay, so I'm going to put my DMT in this away because the bevel's set. We're good. All right, so moving on up, the Norton 4K. Okay, so 4K is the white side here, 8K is the yellowish tint side. I've already flattened these. Now with the Norton, it's a little large. Typically, I don't even really put it in this stand. I just kind of adjust and set it on top. Okay. Now this is where I typically start if I'm just touching up a razor. Same process here. Typically, I will soak the Norton. Get it completely saturated. But for time's sake, we won't. Okay. Now, when you're going through the motions here, you're trying to feel. This hand here is not actually forcing anything down. I'm not putting pressure. I'm not doing anything crazy with this hand. I'm literally just trying to feel if there's a burr or if there's something under here, if there's something going on with the blade. That's all I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to feel that. One of the main things that guys miss, that I most definitely miss myself, it's just absorbing the water here. Normally you don't have to do it this much, but the fact that I didn't soak this ahead of time is just kind of causing some grief now. But as long as you follow manufacturer's specifications on what to do with the stone beforehand, you should be fine. The opposite of what I'm doing here. So you can see the water's kind of puddling now. A little more than it was previously. All right. I always like to run my heel first, right? So with a straight, you have your heel back here next to the scales. You have your obvious mid razor here. Then you have your toe, okay? I always run heel first. That's how I do. So when I'm coming to me, heels first. When I'm going away from me, heels first. That's kind of how I have honed and what works for me. And again, you're supposed to do this with one hand. If you use two hands, it's no problem. Just make sure you're not putting pressure here. I like to use two hands just to get a feel, but it's not required. And we're also not taking too much metal away at this stage. We're just taking away that 1K scratch mark, putting on 4Ks, and from 4 we go to 8, from 8 we go to 12, and you could stop there. The difference for me with a synthetic finish, like my Nanawa here, or a natural finish like my Arc here, or some other natural stone, is this sometimes is very harsh. Very sharp, but very harsh. As to where this is also sharp, definitely sharp enough to shave. more than sharp enough to shave. But you get more of a comfortable edge, more of a buttery smooth edge with natural stones. And I think most guys that shave and hone their own razors will give you that exact same impression. So I basically do this for as long as it takes. There's no set time. There's no set number of strokes. For me, this is relaxing. It's fun in a way. Taking a dull piece of metal and making it sharp enough to shave your face. It's difficult to do this when your geometry is not set on your razor. Setting the bevel, setting the geometry on your razor, or setting the bevel and fixing the geometry on your razor, which again, most of the time, if you're buying a quality razor, like a Dovo, or a Dorco, or a Wade & Butcher, or a custom razor, you're not going to have these issues that you're going to need to resolve. You'll probably have to set your bevel if if you know the manufacturer didn't already do it. But if they've done it, then honestly, you could probably just strop at that point to keep it up. And then once it starts to tug a little bit, maybe grab yourself an 8K, a 12K, and a finishing stone, or just an 8K and a finishing stone. Some guys go directly from the 4 to the 8 to the finishing stone, like a natural stone, instead of going to the synthetic. It's whatever you like. You know, it's whatever's more comfortable for you. I'll show you what I do. This video is going to be long, and there's really no way around it, because this isn't a quick thing. You can make it quick. Like, for instance, if you've watched a lot of honing videos, you've probably seen guys put this on here and, you know, count passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then you flip it over, count 10 more, you know. And you could do that. Some guys will do like 50. Then they'll flip it over 50. They'll flip back over 40. You could do that. That'll work just fine. Again, that's not what I do. I enjoy the process. I enjoy feeling the change, feeling any change within this razor here. You know, I enjoy feeling that. And you will feel it after you've honed enough. You will start to pick up on little subtleties that the blade is giving you as you're honing it. If you actually watch as I'm pulling the razor to me or bringing the razor away from me, there's a puddle of water that kind of sticks in front of the actual cutting edge itself. And that puddle of water is an indication of how well my honing is going, how sharp this blade is getting. Because if it's not sharp, it won't squeegee that water, you know, because if it's sharp or the edges, the bevel is set, you're not going to squeegee that water. The edge won't suction to the actual hone itself, to the actual stone itself. So, you know, you won't have that pushing motion. You see how it's kind of dry back here and all the water pooled up here, now it's rolling back? Same thing here. I'm pushing all the water in front, lift this up, it comes back. That's what you want. That's how you know what you're doing is working. Obviously, make sure as you're honing that you're very careful not to put the blade into the stone. You're going to wreck your edge and probably have to go all the way back to bevel setting. I think we're just about done with the 4. I don't count strokes. Not even, not even doing, I don't count 1, 2, 3. I don't count. Just make sure that they're equal. The blade will tell you when it's done with the stone, not the other way around, okay? You can see I'm not removing very much metal here. Again, because the bevel's already set. But on that 1K, on that DMT plate, whenever you're setting a bevel, you will have a ton of metal that you're taking off show up there. Just make sure that you rinse that off quite often as you're honing it, as you're setting the bevel, because you don't want one of those little, you don't want to chip your edge due to a little particle, a little piece of metal that came off. And as you're honing, it gets under the edge and then, chips it. So just make sure you're being aware of that. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna rinse this off real quick. Change the blade, or rinse the blade off rather. Take the blade over here. Actually, I'll leave it right here. I'll bring the towel over here so you guys don't think I'm changing out the razor or anything. Okay. All right. So, I'm going to flip it over. Like I said, that was the 4 on the white side. This is the 8 on the yellow side. And we're going to just get back to honing. Not really counting, we're just rolling. Okay. Much more smooth on this 8K. You could probably hear the difference. Just a very, very light hum, as opposed to with the 4K, you can actually hear a little bit of the blade taken by the stone. And again, I'm feeling the blade on the stone to see if there's any subtle differences. I'm watching the water pool in front of the stone. I'm watching the undercut of the water on the blade. All of this stuff you learn as you progress in your honing capabilities. As I stated in the beginning, there's a ton of ways to do this. Obviously, I'm doing what works for me. I'm not saying other methods don't work for other people. Other methods have not worked for me. One thing that's, I think, pretty common is you'll be told, apply pressure, Make sure you're torquing the spine, or you're torquing the edge here into the stone. Like you're putting pressure this way. You're turning the spine here that way, so your edge is digging into the stone. Not digging into the stone, but you're putting pressure. You're making the stone contact the blade more. That did not work for me. I guess I don't have a light enough hand to torque it just enough, and therein lies the problem. Because for the people that it does work for, how much pressure are they putting on here? Like, are we going to get some kind of scale and measure the amount of pressure that's perfect for torquing the blade into the stone to get? No. That's why I do it my method, Apparently my hand, it doesn't work for me. I put too much pressure, and I wreck my edge. I would get it to this point, I would put the pressure, I would completely kill the edge. So I don't do that anymore. I let the stone do the work. And I just drag the blade across it. Let the stone work. The blade will tell you when it is done. But you have to let the stone cut. You have to let the stone polish. Here shortly, I should be able to shave, a little patch. Well, you can see I have the bald spot here. But I should be able to put another bald spot here, close to it, here shortly. Let me rinse this off real quick. Now, typically I do this at the table, like at the bench. So I'm not standing up. I'm standing up at the moment. I mean, I'm at my sink where I shoot the videos. This is the sink, and this is kind of like a section to the side of the sink. So at the moment, I'm standing up, and it's not very comfortable. I'm not gonna lie. But I really have no other way of shooting the video other than as I am. If you want to fast forward this part, I understand. To some, this is boring. To me, it's part of the process. It's getting the razor to where it needs to be to shave. And that's that. There's really not much else in between. Oh, some guys also will, like, for whatever reason, feel the need to use, I'm going to go grab a chair real quick. I'll be right back. I'm going to set the blade right here. It's not going anywhere. If I'm going to be here for the next 30 minutes, I may as well be somewhat comfortable, right? So what I was saying, I'm going to kind of dry this off a little bit back here. Some guys will use like distilled water, and I use tap water, okay? Straight out of the faucet. I use tap water. And it works for me. So if you want to use still water or distilled water or purified water or whatever, that's cool, but it's not needed. Okay. There's a lot of, I won't say misinformation, although that's really what it is. There's a lot of opinions out there as far as how to get that perfect edge. But my perfect edge for my face may not be the same perfect edge for your face. And also there's just a lot of elitism and, it's kind of like my way or the highway type stuff in this honing hobby. And I don't know if it's like because people are making money off of honing razors for others, or what the thing is. Like they want to have it out there that they have this super crazy method of, putting on a Chinese finger trap on your pinkies, because it makes the blade glide through the stone easier and you get more of a glassy feel. I mean, whatever. All I can tell you is this works for me. Yeah, the forums are very, in my opinion, the forums are very toxic. Not from everybody. Speaking of water, by the way, take a swig of water for myself here. All right, so you can start to see the undercut on the way to you. So watch the water first be pushed by the blade, but then start to roll over the blade. See it? And that's the undercut. The blade's connection with the stone is so minute, it's so close that the water is not just being squeegeed and pushed by the stone or by the razor on the stone, but it's breaching that edge. It's coming over that edge. And again, it if you have a puddle of water here, it's going to do it every time. So you have to be consistent on, if you're looking for that, you have to have, a good amount of water, but not too much where it's doing it just because you have too much water on the stone. There's some guys that use magnifying glasses and actual little scopes, magnifying scopes. They get up to like 300 times magnification and all this. I'll show you what I have. Let me grab it right here. Where's it at? Hopefully it's in here. Yeah. This is it here. This is what I use, right? It's a little 30 and 60 jeweler's loop. Here's my 30 time. Here's my 60 time. Purchased it off of Amazon for like $10, $15. Okay. It has a little LED light for each one. I don't really use the light because, for me anyways, the light kind of, I don't know, it kind of skews the edge how it looks naturally. So I don't use the light, like I said, but this is what I use. That's all I use. Jeweler's loop. Super cheap. And it works. You don't need a microscope that's going to give you a 400, 300, 200 time magnification of the edge. You just don't. I'm not feeling too much in the way of a burr or any craziness with the edge, so I can just kind of come back with my single hand here. And this is just the process. Okay. Gonna rinse off the stone. All right, and we'll put this stone to the side. Okay, now I typically move up to the nanowatt. 12K Super. Some guys, again, and you can do this. I've done this before. It works perfectly fine. You can go straight to your natural stone. Okay, you can. Let me dry this stone off. From the 4K or even 8K on the or from the 8K or even the 4K on the Norton, you can go to your finishing stone. I've done it. It works fine. I just don't prefer it. Okay, it's all preference, and I prefer hitting it with the 12K. And then basically the 12K is it's a much higher grit than the actual natural stone that I have, or the natural stones that I have. And so basically I'm getting it to a 12K kind of very sharp / harsh feeling, to I'm backing it down a little bit. It's very sharp still, but I'm kind of using the natural stone to kind of kill that sharpness, or kill that harshness, kill that rough edge. Even though it's not rough under a microscope, I hope I'm being clear, but it'll kind of kill that rough, that very that too sharp kind of burning, irritating feeling after the first or second pass. Okay, that's what the matting does for me. All right, so I'm gonna wet this. And we'll just continue on what we're doing. Heel first, all the way to me. Now, when you get to this point, there's something that some call stiction. They call it grabbing. They call it many different things. And it's kind of when the blade feels like it's sticking, like it's literally sticking to this and to the stone. And as you're pulling it to you, you feel it grabs and it doesn't want to continue, and you have to kind of force it. That's kind of what I'm getting here, a little bit. And you have to remember, at the 8K level, you could definitely shave when I'm finished with the 8K. It's not going to be a comfortable shave. The edge is going to be a little rough. But you could finish it with the 8K. You could strop it and you can get a shave. It's just not going to be the best shave. It's not even going to be a good shave. It's going to be an okay shave, and you're probably going to have some irritation. Actually, you're going to have some irritation. So, not advised to do that. As far as flattening my stones, like I said, I use the DMT 400. I use the DMT 400 in this for this and for my other synthetic progression stones. For my natural stones, especially my arc, you see how this side's kind of dull? I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up or not, but this side's kind of dull, right? And if I flip this, you kind of see like it's not exactly a mirror finish or a mirror polish, but it's polished, right? This is the side that I flattened, completely flat, 100%. I have a video on this. I'm going to upload it probably within the next week or so when I have some time to kind of edit. This side I have not flattened, so I will not use this side when I'm trying to hone my razors. It'll be this side. And I'm going to finish on this side after I'm done with my 12K here. For flattening your stones, again, multiple ways to do that. I have a piece of glass, and you'll see this in the video. Piece of glass, piece of granite would work. Just a flat surface, a 100% flat surface. And yeah, once you get that flat surface, then you want to go through progressions. I use SICK powder, SIC powder. That's silicone carbide powder. That's the same exact stuff that's put into, oh, this thing is really grabbing. It's really great. It's sticking right there. Like I could force it to continue. Like I could push and force it, but it's sticking right here. Holy cow! That side grabs much more. Right here. Right here. 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 It's sticking. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this right here. I'm going to rinse this off under the faucet, and then I'm going to continue on. So yeah, I'll put the SICK powder on the glass or any flat edge or straight edge you have, flat surface you have, and you know, you'll kind of just go through the progressions. I have 80, 120, 240, 400, 600, 800, and 1,000 grit SICK, and then I'll kind of polish it up with some wet or dry sandpaper, 1,000 to 1,500 grit, and that's where I leave it right there. Done. I'm done when I'm flattening stones or my natural stones. All right, see, now we're able to pull it a bit more. So whenever it starts sticking, my theory, and I think this is right, is as you're doing this, you have very, very, very minuscule, like very small particles coming off of this. And you see how that blade's shining now? At least the edge, very sharp at this point. But you have these little particles that are kind of sticking inside. And as you're dragging this across, it's just kind of catching and it's sticking. What I'll typically do is rinse the stone like I did, and then I'll strop this, and I'll probably do that here in the next couple of minutes. I'll rinse the stone, I'll strop this, and then I'll do one more set of laps before I move over to my natural. From start to finish, if I'm not sitting here talking and explaining what I'm doing and why I do it and everything else, from start to finish with a gold dollar, you know, geometry correction, all of that, I'm going to set this down now and wipe this off. And then what I'm going to do is rinse this off. Then I'm going to bring the strop over here. You know, from start to finish with a gold dollar, it probably takes me about an hour and a half. You know, trimming down the heel, all the little stabilizer there, and bringing it, setting the bevel, bringing it up to all the way up to my finishing stone. Geez, I've got so much stuff over here off the camera. This is the strop that I use, by the way. It's a Chef Knives To Go strop. You can see when I was first starting out, definitely had some rough time stropping, to say the least, up here as well. But this is the strop I use. This is 100% pure leather, obviously. And then this is a suede backing. I always go with suede first. You know, I don't count, but I'd say probably between 10 and 20 laps on the suede, flip it over, and then probably 20 to 40 laps on the leather. So that's kind of how I do it. I have this typically, well, it's locked up on me now. I have this hanging from my counter. I had to take it off, obviously, to show you guys, but I typically have it hanging and I'll kind of pull it straight and strop. So this is going to be a little awkward for me, but I'll get it done. Like I said, I'll rinse that off and then I'll strop. Now, when you strop, I'm sure most of you know this, but if you don't, when I hone against, the edge goes into the stone. When you strop, you don't want to do this. That's what caused, you know, that's what caused all these. That's what caused this. You don't go into it. You go away from it, right? So, away. It's very difficult to do this. First, while sitting down, and second, while this is laying, because I typically have my strops hanging. I just have no way of doing that here. All right. So you get the picture, though. I'll strop it several times, and then I'll come back to the stone. So let me put this to the side. Jeez, this bathroom's becoming a mess with everything I have in here. Okay. And we're gonna finish up. We're gonna finish up the 12K here, and then we're going to the natural. And I'll do this until I feel it sticking again, and then I'm done. I have absolutely no idea how long we're at here. I'm about 3 feet from the actual camera up there. But if I had to guess, I'd say we're between 30 and 45 minutes. Watch it be like an hour and a half or something. Something crazy. All right, we're like, I can feel a little bit of restriction, but we're not sticking yet. And I'm gonna go until we stick. That's when I feel the edge is at its finest point, when I'm sticking. And stropping and everything, rinsing off the razor, that gets it back to that point of kind of freshness. And then you do this again, and it'll start sticking on you. We're getting a little bit more resistance, not what I would call stiction yet. Okay. Getting a little bit more. We're getting there. Okay. Add a little bit more water. Yeah. Now we're getting there. Yep, it's grabbing now. Okay. We're good with that. So again, you can shave with this now. There's no problem with shaving on a 12K. Again, for me and my skin, it's a little harsh. My skin's a little too sensitive to get an irritation-free or a non-burning after the shave feel. So at this point, we will move up to and I'm gonna just rinse off the blade. And then I'm gonna dry it off here. When I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I'm not putting the towel or whatever I'm using, paper towel, whatever, on the actual edge itself. I'm keeping it right at the edge, but I'm not putting it I'm not putting it over the edge. Okay. Alrighty, so let me grab the natural. Put that here. Kind of close. Let me close this up a little. Okay. And that's what we'll do with the natural. You see the kind of shiny glimmering. Just put a little bit of water. And I have a trick. When it starts sticking on the natural stone, I have a little trick that I use as well. And I'll kind of show you guys that as well. So let's go ahead and go on the natural. Now you can see the other stones that I have are much larger, right? Like this, the razor does not fit on this natural stone. It doesn't. So X strokes are very important here, right? So you just go X, 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 X. So This is a Dan's Whetstones True Hard Black Arkansas, or Surgical Black Arkansas Stone. It's a mouthful. Um, there's with Arkansas, there's soft arcs, there's hard arcs, and there's true hard arcs. Arkansas stones are mined, you guessed it, in Arkansas, and Arkansas in the USA. And they are of novaculite variety as far as the geometry, the particles inside of here. It's novaculite. It's hard for me to pick what my favorite finishing stone is. I want to get my hands on a nice caudicle. That's a Belgium or a Belgian. It's a Belgian natural stone. They're not extremely expensive. I mean, a stone for a conical stone of this size is not very expensive. I mean, yeah, relatively speaking, this stone, and that stone, and any stone that I have will last. The natural stones I'm talking about will last my lifetime, my son's lifetime. So. As far as stones that's gonna last forever, I don't mind splurging a little bit because they're gonna be around for a very long time. But yeah, cauticles at this size aren't. They're gonna probably be a little bit more expensive than the arcs because they're from Belgium, shipping and whatnot. But I've shaved with them before. I don't own one myself, but I've been lent one, I've honed with one, and I've had someone else hone a razor for me and shaved with a caudicle edge. And to me, the cauticles have a much more buttery edge. And we're talking about incremental. I say much more. Really, it's like incremental. But for me, the caudicle edge by far is my most favorite edge on a straight. And that's why I really want to get one for myself. All right, we're getting a little bit of stiction here. Yep. Right there. Right there. Yep, right there. So we are sticking. I'm just kind of forcing it through. As far as when it's sticking, I'm just kind of continually pushing harder and harder. Not pushing the edge down into the stone. These true hard arcs, they will completely kill that edge. So when I say pushing, I just mean forward. I'm just pushing it forward and I'm pulling it to me through its comfort zone. Just a little bit more because it's starting to really grab here. And then I'll show you what I do at this point when it starts to really grab. And you'll see me from time to time flipping my stones. I really do that. The Arkansas, you really don't need to, because once it's flattened, this thing could probably hone 100 plus razors without any deviation as far as flatness. It's not gonna bowl out or anything like that. But I like to flip it just to have even wear, or as much even wear as I can, because I'm probably not going to do the same amount of passes on this side that I did on the other one. But yep, and we're sticking. Okay, so let me show you what I do whenever I start to stick on my naturals. I've never seen anyone else do this other than Keith. And that's who I actually got this from. Arco shave stick. I cut off a little piece of Arco. And I basically just create a little soap slurry. Now Keith uses other natural stones to make kind of a slurry. I'm sure that works for him perfectly fine. For me, I just prefer to use that Arco stick probably costs $1.50 for the entire stick. I mean, what does a little piece like this cost? 3 cents. For me, it kind of does the same thing, in my opinion. So that's what I use. And I have that piece is specifically for this. And it's okay, these big chunks, this is soap. It's not like it's going to damage a metal edge, the little bit of soap chunks that are there. So, but that gives me that. And this is what I was talking about. Watch this. As I'm pulling, watch all of this slurry build up on top of the edge, right? Some people will call that undercut. That is undercut, but you have to remember, I have a heavy slurry here, and that's not true. That's not really what undercut. You see how it's all building up on the edge here? When you could do that with water, when you could have it build up over the edge like this on water, yeah, that's undercut. But with slurry, not so much. See, now it's not grabbing at all, okay? Absolutely not grabbing. So I went from extreme stiction to just gliding across this thing, no problem. And it's, due to the soap. Again, if you have any specific questions, leave them in the comments, send me an email. Add a little bit of water to this. Okay. Yeah, it's not sticking at all. And it typically doesn't with all this soap. At this point, what I'll typically do when I feel I'm satisfied with where I'm at as far as the edge, I'll rinse off the stone, I'll rinse off the blade, and then I'll start honing on this stone again until it starts to stick, and then I'm done. I'm completely done at that point. I'll strop it. Like I said, I don't count strop strokes, but let's say on the suede, I do between 10 and 15. And on the leather side, I do between 20 and 40. And that's not going to be spot on, but that's going to be accurate or semi-accurate to what I actually do. In my opinion, strokes don't matter, or counting strokes doesn't matter. I mean, you want to be equal on each side, but if you do it how I'm doing it, and you just kind of do 1, that's a pass. 2, that's a pass. 3, that's a pass. If you just consistently do this, where you're getting the same number of strokes per pass, then you're perfectly fine. No need to count. Same thing with stropping. Strop each side the same amount of times, and you're good. It's all about preference. All about how does that blade feel to you. I'm picking up the pace here. I mean, typically this is how I strop, or this is how I hone. I typically hone at a bit faster of a pace than what I've been doing. But I also wanted this to be, something for the newer guys, or something for just someone that wants to see a different perspective on how someone else hones. So that's it. This is literally it. So that's it, guys. I mean, that is where I would finish. I would clean this up, clean that up, wash them off, come back on here with just water, no soap, go until I stick, I'm done. Suede, strop, strop, suede. Then I'm stropping leather, and I'm completely done. If I'm not going to use it now, or in the next day or two, I would oil it up, put some just some regular. I just use mineral oil, and just store the razor. Done. So hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, like I said, if you have questions, let me know, and hope you enjoyed. Thanks.